This podcast has mature language, not intended for underage viewers.
Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 26. We are entering the summer part of the season. Yeah, it's about to get hot, y'all. It's going to start getting sticky and stuff as well, so I hope you running your air conditioning. Make sure you using your air filters, replacing them rather, so you don't have any clogged air conditioners, because this is not the time for them to fail when it's, over 100 degrees and it's sticky and it's bad. So make sure you're getting everything properly serviced. I know we had to do it once. It was a few years ago, but our compressor went out and we thought we were under warranty and it wasn't. So I had to really bust my butt that summer to work, because it was like $1,800 to get that air conditioner fixed. And the family was not happy. They were not happy. So I don't want that to go. I don't want to wish that for anybody else. So hopefully, everybody's air conditioning is going to be serviced and ready to roll. But let me get into things that's on my mind. I do want to send a special shout out to all the teachers who endure more than they should. I really appreciate you. And I know there are tons of parents and kids that appreciate you. I know there are some that, take advantage of your kindness with how they act, not taking care of their kids. But, you guys do a lot. You're not paid properly. You should be paid properly to show you just express how much pleasure. Well, not pleasure. Just to express how much people really, love what teachers do. Teachers are the backbone, one of the backbones of this of society. I remember my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Imajulu. That lady could paint a picture. She painted a picture about it was Dracula. It was the first time I read a book. I was like, man, why I won't read the book? I saw the movie with such and such in there. But we read the book, and her description, actually, I felt like I was in Transylvania, man. So, I really, really appreciated her and all of my teachers that I had throughout the years. So, let a teacher know that you appreciate them. They're going through a lot. They have to endure a lot of stuff, bureaucracy, bad kids, trying to survive as well with the way the world is, with people, trying to harm others for really no reasons. Because I look at it this way: if you got a beef with somebody, you need to take that up with that person. But I'm not gonna get all off into that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, because I have, teachers who are clients, and sometimes they just, they look like they're at their wits' end with all the stuff. If it's not the kids, it's sometimes it's coworkers. Some coworkers aren't on the same, not the same level, but they're not in the same mindset of what the goal is. And I understand it's healthy competition, and that's what you want to be, but you don't want to do it to the detriment of your profession and what you're trying to accomplish as teachers. So, my wish would be that everybody moved in the same direction for the same purpose. And I'm sure if you guys were paid a lot more, it would help. I know it would, to be compensated and feel like you matter. But I just wanted to say shout out to y'all. All right. Whether it helps or not, I don't know, but just so y'all know, I'm rolling with you. Now, let me go into these NBA playoffs. We are in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. We had the first game last night between the Lakers and Denver. The question I asked is Joker really that good? You'll hear some people say, oh my God, he's the best thing since sliced toast. and I don't really understand that analogy, but I hear it all the time, so I just kind of went with it. You'll hear others say, he can play, he's good, but they need to see more. I'm more of, you can't start talking about how great a person is until they've reached a final or two. He's got to reach the final and play well. He's unbelievable when it comes to what he can do with the ball. He doesn't look the part, but I'm more of a, I don't know, like I guess okay, so I'll use Shaq for instance. You didn't really have anything to compare Shaq to back then because he was just such a dominant force. But even the ones that were there that were really good players, they had a hard time stopping him because he was just that dominant. With Joker, you have what, two, maybe three people that he would that pose a threat. I think with me, I like to see Joker, more guarding someone that can go at him. So this series against Anthony Davis, obviously they're not gonna guard each other a lot straight up, but I would love to see them go at each other. Anthony Davis does make Joker think a lot more. That fourth quarter wasn't his best quarter. He was killing up until then. So let me give you an example. When there was a talk about Steph had to go against Kyrie, Chris Paul, Damon Lillard, and stuff like that. So you got to see them go against each other. You got to see, them defend. Steph is not nowhere near any type of defensive person, but he plays D. He tries. You can see him go against Kyrie. Kyrie gives it to him. He gives it to Kyrie. That's what I like to see. I'm not saying that's what we have to see, but that's kind of how I gauge it. So seeing Joker go against Anthony Davis, this series is going to let me know a lot because Joker's not a defensive presence. He's a rebounder. He's an assist player. He's a scorer. He's not a defensive rebound. He's not a defensive presence. Anthony Davis can do pretty much everything that Joker does, but he's a defensive presence as well. Now, Anthony Davis doesn't do it on a consistent basis, night in, night out. He has some years over Joker, right? And then the longevity thing comes in. Like, Joker's been great, but it's, is it a small sample size? So if Lakers beat Denver, or is our conversation about Joker different? So I'm interested to see. I kind of think I think it'll be Boston, maybe the Lakers. But I would love to see Denver in the finals as well. I really enjoy Matt Malone. I pull for him. So, I would love to see what he's gonna do. It's just kind of weird at how some guys get a lot of praise and they haven't quite done certain things, and others are held. It's kind of like well, they need to do this. It's like, no, it needs to be the same way for everybody. If you're going to be talked about as the greatest, then you need to have at least a ring, or at least have the criteria for what it is, right? If you don't have the criteria, then you're just throwing stuff out there. And I don't want to just be throwing stuff out there. So for me, Joker's going to have to go head-to-head against Anthony Davis. And I'm sure he can score, but, I don't think he can stop Anthony Davis from scoring. I think Anthony Davis would have a better time holding him, in check before he holds Anthony Davis in check. I'm not saying he's going to stop him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think Anthony Davis could defend Joker better than Joker could defend him. But we'll see. That's why you play the games, right? You got to play the games to see what's going on. All right, man. Come on, Ja. Come on, Ja, man. Come on. You can't be doing that to people, man. Yo, is the ink on the transfer form for you coming out of the rehab was still wet, and you already doing that now. Okay, for those of y'all don't know, Ja Morant, Memphis Grizzlies, borderline superstar, right? Had an issue, where he held a gun in his IG, in the Instagram story during the season. And there's been some other incidents. I'm not going to get all off into them. If you want to, you can Google and see. But he's had some baggage of late. He gets suspended 8 games. You know, he goes to supposedly rehab, which is what people are saying. They say, yeah, it was rehab, but it wasn't. And now, you know, he gets out. He's playing again. His season ends. And now he's back because there was another video of him, almost identical thing that he was doing last time with a gun. Now, we have to understand context. There is no law against what he did. There is no law. He didn't break any laws as far as, you know, crime committed. He wasn't robbing anybody. He was out there just, you know, show stopping. Out there with the gun, doing his thing, listen to the music. You know, there's plenty of people that do that, you know, that get into the song or what have you, and they just vibing. All right, okay, I get that. But it was stupid. It was stupid. So whether he gets suspended for a year, I think they're going to come down on him because I think they're going to make a example of him. And then I hear people say, oh, well, it's not that big a deal. I had somebody post a picture of an NRA family. You know, well, they get to post theirs. Why? It's like, yo, but some people sometimes, and this goes for everybody, some people, some of y'all out there are so fixated on making sure that everybody else is, quote unquote, you know, being held to the same standards, that sometimes you just forget about the person that you're supposed to talk about. I don't care about Luka or some NRA family, man. I just want to talk about why Ja did what he did. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if we get into it a little bit deeper, here's the thing that you have to look at. You know, in the NBA is not a public place. It's a private organization, private business. They make money. People pay money for their product. They got endorsements, all of this stuff, contracts. They have to protect their brand. I have a brand just in case it's weird. Some people still don't know that I own Street Cred Sports Training, that it is the biggest training business in the city of El Paso since I've started. Nobody's doing what I'm doing, right? They're trying. I mean, yeah, okay, all right. I don't want to make it sound like that. Okay, there are other organizations that have started. I've been doing this longer than anybody, okay? But I own my own business. I have people that I pay payroll. I pay payroll taxes. I do everything, right, legitimately. If one of my employees fail to adhere to some of the terms of the employee contracts and stipulations, yo, they're gone. I understand that it's, you know, well, it's not a crime, but if you're not upholding my standards, because we deal with kids, I can't have one of my trainers out there popping out shots and, you know, and doing some, you know, some childish behavior. Because then that parent's going to be like, you know, well, I don't want my child training with you. I don't want my child picking up those bad habits. I once had a person tell me that there was somebody who was training that when they showed up, the person had socks on and the socks had, I think it was weed plants on it. And that parent was like, yeah, nah, I'm not taking my child to that person. Right? So just that interpretation led that parent to not want to have that person train their child. Okay? So if you have a set of standards, you should go by it. I don't know what their standard is. I know the NBA has some moral clause and stuff in there. And yeah, he wasn't, you know, he's off season, so he could definitely do what he wants. But there are going to be consequences. And once we start to understand that we have to abide by whatever rules we enter into, yo, we just can't change the rules just because. We can't get upset and start throwing other people under the bus, talking about what other people are doing the same thing just because somebody got caught. It was his stupidity. Nobody went and filmed him. He put it out on his IG. How stupid is that? How stupid is it that you can do that? Yeah, okay, if that's where you rolling, but you keep that private. You don't put that out there for the public to see. Now, I'm for Ja. I hope he gets the help he needs. I don't think he's going to ever ascend to where he was after this. I think he's going to lose a lot of endorsement deals. That's on him. And you can't try to boycott, or Nike or Gatorade because they're doing this. No, he did that, man. He did that. And the craziest thing is most of the people who are complaining and whining and reasoning and stuff, y'all don't own nothing. Own a business. Have people rely on you. Build a brand. Get yourself to a point to where people recognize you, where they seek your product or your service. Then have somebody that works for you do some stupid stuff like that. Then come back to me and see how you feel. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, if it's not that big of a deal, then that's fine. Now, am I going to throw any of my employees under the bus and just get rid of them? Of course, everything's a step by step. I will support my employees to best I can to try to help them if need be. But they will know and understand that I'm not tolerating that. You can't be out there wearing uniforms, making it rain at the strip club. You can't be making it rain at the strip club with your Street Cred Sports training shirts. That's a joke, y'all. Nobody's doing that. But I'm just saying, you have to understand that if you're gonna deal with some company, you have to understand that company has people that's buying his products. So I hope he gets the help. I don't think this is not the end of him, but I think he's about to go through a reckoning when it comes to the NBA because I think they're gonna make an example of him. This is the equivalent of the Malice in the Palace. If those of you don't remember, there was a fight. Ron Artest, Steven Jackson, and some other guys went into the crowd during a game and was fighting the actual fans, right? So they got suspended almost the entire season, I think. One was half season, one was almost a full. Can't really remember. It was epic. This is the equivalent of them being suspended, coming back, going to another arena, and starting another fight. That's what this is, if you want to put an analogy on it. You does that, man. You have to learn from your mistakes. And I'm not sure he does. I think he's going to have to learn a tough lesson. Okay? Now, all of that goes into this last thing I want to mention. It's called accountability. And I think that accountability is rapidly disappearing from the face of the earth as far as what people feel with accountability. I'm starting to see so much to where I don't think people feel like they have to be accountable for things that they do, good and bad. You can't teach your kids to be accountable if you're not going to be accountable. If you're going to constantly blame somebody else for something that you did or come up with a reason why, you can't be accountable. And then I can't have somebody who's not wanting to be accountable for what their actions are dealing with my children or with something with me. If you have a business and you can't be accountable for something, you're not going to get my business. I'm going to go someplace else that's accountable. I try to, now, am I 100% accountable? I would like to think so, but I'm sure there's some things that I might just not be accountable for. I have to look, but I try to live my life being accountable because I don't want the kids that I train to think that I'm always trying to take the easy way out. I train 7 days a week, right? 7 days a week. I'm constantly doing stuff. I feel like I hold myself accountable for things. When I don't, if I'm not feeling good, I suck it up and get in there because it's that one day that I probably can change that kid's chances with whatever he or she is struggling with basketball. So I'm going to hold my kids accountable because I'm going to be accountable. We need to hold each other accountable in our daily life. Stop trying to place the blame on everybody else for something. If you did something wrong, don't start trying to look for another way to kind of sneak it out. All accountability is owning up. Just own up. If you make a mistake, it's not that bad if you admit that you made a mistake. It really is not. It's not that bad. So let's try to be more accountable. Hold each other accountable. Sometimes it's hard. You got your friend who told you that they was going to do something and then they don't do it. Hold that person accountable. Like, man, look, you need to be accountable for what you say. You can't just be saying stuff to say it. If I'm going to depend on you, then I need to know that you got my back. If you're not going to be accountable, that's fine. But we're not going to talk about anything else other than hanging out, being on the block, barbecues or whatever. But when it comes to serious business, people need to be more accountable. Hold each other accountable. Parents hold your kids hold your parents, and so on. And I think if people start holding each other more accountable and saying, nah, that's unacceptable, I don't want to hear it. Stop complaining and whining about what others are doing and saying, yeah, it's tough, but that sometimes is how life is. Get it going and get it right. I think you might see a shift. But in any case, that's I guess I was on my soapbox. Should have had the soapbox music going on while I was venting, but yeah, it's interesting how things are going. All right, so I'm going to start adding something, getting into our basketball training ideology. I listen to a ton of content, and I'm thinking to myself, I want to educate myself even more, and while I'm educating myself, start educating my listeners. So here's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start to list a basketball term, something, that some people might hear, they might not understand, because when you hear coaches and sometimes players talk, you hear them using terms and you're like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Even me, sometimes like, man, what the hell is he talking about? You know it, but it's because they're talking and using different terms and languages. So I'm going to try to use a term every time I have a podcast, just so, you're educating yourself. So I'm hoping that this is something that you find enlightening. The basketball term I'm going to talk about today is called a dig. Well, what is a dig? Well, a dig, as defined in the basketball dictionary, yes, there's a basketball dictionary. A dig is defined as a brief lunge by a perimeter defender towards a posting up offensive player. This is intended to bring secondary ball pressure without double teaming. Yeah, it kind of sounds like really weird. So let me paint a picture. If I'm defending on the corner, I'm playing defense on the corner. If you're facing the basketball goal, I'm on the left side. We'll say the left side. I'm out there on the perimeter playing defense. Let's say the ball goes into the post on the same side as me. So normally, instead of us double teaming and just dropping down the double team, what I'm going to do is dig down. So I'm going to lunge down towards that player and then go back. Okay? So this isn't quite a double team. Double team is what they're alluding to. A true double team is, when that person gets the ball, you're going to have a second person run at them from a specific place, no matter what. Every time that person gets the ball. A dig is similar to that, and it leads to other stuff. So you're kind of doubling, but you're not doubling. It sounds kind of confusing when you put it in the terms. I'd have to try to find a telestrator to show it. But you're really just digging down to assist that player, your teammate, and maybe make the offensive player think you're about to double team. Maybe they pick the ball up and throw it back out. Maybe they rush what they're doing and make a bad shot or a bad bounce or, bad pass. So that's generally what a dig is. You just dig down, you lunge Some call it what is it? I think it's a different term. I have to look it up to see what other term it is, because now with these different words, you have, there's synonyms and antonyms for all of them. So, yeah, so dig is the basketball term. So, look it up, maybe get on video and see if you can see what an actual dig is being done in game motion. Now, as I was talking, what I am doing is I'm doing a lot of learning. So the thing I'm going to talk about today is concepts versus plays. What's the difference? Well, in listening to a lot of different, podcasts, a lot of different coaches across the world who talk about different things, one thing I have started to hear a lot of is a lot of coaches are talking about concepts. They're not necessarily talking about plays. Okay, so what are we talking about? All right, so let me give you an example. A play would be a 5-out. So let's say 5-out. So if you don't understand what a 5-out offense is, it's more of a positionless set where you have 5 offensive players outside of the 3-point line. So you have 1 at the top, 2 at the wings, or the 45s as they call them, and then 2 in the corner. One on each corner, right? So it's 5 all the way around the 3-point line. Okay, so in a 5-out offense, you have the basic play. You pass, you cut through. If you don't get the ball, then you fill to the other side, and everybody keeps moving and filling. And it's basically a pass and cut offense, right? There are different things you can do out of it. Okay, now that's a play that you run. A concept is taking the formation or the set, and now you're kind of looking at things a little bit differently. So I'll give you an example. If you understand you're in a 5-out and they're playing a man-to-man, but you understand that in this 5-out, you can actually run some pin-down split action from the wing to the corner and get your offense out of that every time. Now you're not really running a play. You're really running a concept. So concepts can kind of be to where you're basically just utilizing what you do well within a segment of something. So if you know you have a really good guard, and that guard is really good at operating out of the screen and roll, your concepts are going to be running pick and roll play out of that 5-out in various ways. So you have the concept, you're not running a play, you're just basically doing what you do the best. So if, for instance, it's passing, you're not passing, you're setting screens and going over, and you're getting your offense out of that, right? Every time you run over the screen, when you go over the top, you're going to get either a dive to the basket, you're going to get a layup, you're going to get a jump shot, you're going to get help, and they're going to come in, and then as they, drop down to help, you kick it out for a shot. Those are concepts, because you're not really running a play. You have a play, but you're just doing what you feel, you can get out of it. And from what I've gathered, a lot of coaches are really honing in on it. And I personally think I've always been big on concepts versus plays. You have to have plays. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying just you have to have a play that you run. But if you have a concept that you can run out of that play that allows it to be kind of free-flowing, and you're getting your offense, and you have the personnel, meaning players that know how to execute that, it could be beautiful, because the team is scouting a play. They don't know what you're running. You're not running a play. You're just getting offense out of a concept, right? So I hear a lot more coaches talking about it. And I think that, coaches would, if you don't do it, I think you should listen to your players, because that's what some of these coaches are talking about. They listen to their players. They do more discussion on an actual concept than they do an actual play. And by doing it, they create matchups that they want, situations that they would like to get in, and their players are so well versed with the concepts that they know how to do it. So in my terms as a trainer, what I do with players is I go through their offense, right? And I go through their offense, and I have them to go through the whole play to where it cycles. And then I start to give them concepts. I call them options, but they're concepts, really. The same thing. I give them options. So, you catch the ball. This is what you're supposed to do. Now, here's a wrinkle. This is something you can do out of that where it doesn't look like you're deviating from the play. You can get into this action. You can make the fake pass, jab. Now you can drive to the basket. Now, from this drive, here are your options. If this defender does this, you can kick it to that person, right? If this defender does that, you can do this. So once you give them a couple of options and you let them go and let them explore it, I feel that players will gain confidence in not being so afraid of making the mistakes because they're not running the play, they're running concepts. So that's what I feel with that. I'm really, in tune. Well, not in tune. I'm starting to get more in tune with listening to others talk about different things. And, I think it's great because you get to hear what other people are saying and what they're thinking. And then some people can end up, gravitating to something, taking something out that somebody else said and inputting their own information and stuff. So it's really good. I really, really think it's cool concepts to do concepts as opposed to plays. Now, in going into that, let me mention the pick and roll because the question is always, where does the pick and roll really work, or when does it really work? That was a question I got asked. When does a pick and roll really work? And what are the pieces to it? Well, I feel that in order to be very successful at the pick and roll, I think your number one thing you must have is a guard that can handle the ball and run it. What I mean by run it, I need a guard that can get to the basket and finish, that can shoot off the dribble, and that's really adept at finding open teammates. If you have a person when you're doing a pick and roll that can do those three things, not multiple people, one person, you're going to be very successful in pick and roll because it is the hardest thing to defend. Now, guys, most time now, they're all taught to just come over to pick and roll and shoot those threes. But probing the defense, forcing the defense to collapse and kicking it out to shooters, the ones that you want, that are going to be open, that stand the best time knocking down shots. You can control an offense with the pick and roll. As long as you can score and you can pass and you can make those great decisions, that's when pick and roll really works. So that would be my first thing. You don't even have to have a big that knows how to roll as well, right? You can have a big that rolls to the rim or pops out. They don't have to do both. So now whenever that happens, the defense has to decide if they're going to switch, if they're going to trip a double, if they're going to hedge, if they're going to try to ice the screen, whatever it is they're going to do, they're going to do it. And as a guard, if you know what you're doing, you're going to get a certain look every time. And as you get that certain look, it's hard to defend. You got to have handles. If you don't have handles, it's really hard to use a pick and roll. So that's when I feel it works, and those are the pieces. Now, I would say a last piece is depending on where you're running it. If you have a person, in the corner, as you're running that screen and roll or that pick and roll and you're going down, you have somebody that can knock down shots. Now that defender has to honor whether they're going to help or not. If they don't help, it's layup city. If they help, it's an open three. So you put the defense in a bind where they have to make decisions based on, what they're getting. So pick and roll to me is works best when you have a guard that can do those three things. Obviously, pass, score, and shoot. Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's not. Not when you're doing pick and roll. You got to be able to get to the basket and be a threat. Because if you can get to the basket, then that defender is going to sometimes drop. If you can knock that shot up over, sometimes they can't drop. If you can pop out and your person who's setting the screen pops out and is a threat to shoot, it's going to open up lots of things. Okay, so that's my 2 cents when it comes to pick and roll. I hope that helped. I don't want to make it to where it sounds like I'm sitting over here talking like a coach X's and we're going to run this play and we're going to get this look and stuff. I do want to try to make sure that I'm continuing to educate not just myself, but everybody else, because sometimes I have parents that, they might not understand certain things, and it's my job to make sure they understand. I want my parents to be comfortable to where when they go to a game, they can understand what they're looking. I remember once I had a parent, it was a mom, and she would bring the son there all the time. Now the husband, the dad, he actually played high school and stuff, so he enjoyed it and stuff, but the mom would come to the practices. And I swear within like 2 months, she understood so much to where when she was at the game, she's like, oh my God, the thing that you worked on with him, oh, he did it and it looked great and I understood what was going on. And that made me feel really good that I was able to make sure that she understood what was going on in a way to where she didn't even know much about sports, but now she can engage with her child, and that was something that they could share because she could see that, what he was doing. Not just, oh, he made this move. It's, hey, you work with him on this and he did it in the game and he got what you told him he was going to get. So I enjoy that. I really do. So I always tell my parents, never feel like you never feel like you're dumb or anything where you can't ask me questions about stuff. That's what I'm here for, is to make sure that you know what you're getting, because the more you know, the more you're going to see the growth of your child. So with all of that, I'm going to call it a day. Bonus content. We're going to talk about portal issues and the length of a training for a child. How long should that be? That's coming on the Patreon version. So if you're not a Patreon member, you need to subscribe to the Patreon. There are lots of things that I have going on this Patreon that's going to start to really take form. So with that, I'm going to leave it as I always do. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Y'all take care. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.